Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Sports PMB show. I'm Araka Tom. Let's begin with the headlines of the day at the day 2 of the Showdown Grit and Glory basketball tournament, which delivered intensity and some razor-thin finish at the Stephen Keshi Stadium. Leaders Academy edged out Bielsa strong by 1 point, 39-38, a nail-biter from start to finish, and one of the closest games we've seen in this year's edition. In other results from the men's division, Delta Force squeezed out a 25-24 victory over Discover Spartans, a true defensive battle, while Asaba Pace Setters fell 36-60 to the explosive High Flyers, who dominated the court with pace and scoring depth and some shooting 3 points. Switching to the women's category, Discover Phoenix defeated Delta Force 45-42 in another tight contest, and Bielsa Blue Whales struggled as they fell 13-27 to the Bielsa Patriots, who controlled the tempo from tip-off to the final whistle. And wrapping up the men's fixtures, Waftown Oilers edged Divine Speed 30-29, yet another 1-point thriller to cap off an electrifying day 2. Showdown 2025 is heating up and stakes are rising, and the teams are showing grit, heart, and championship energy.
Looks as if you guys are very cold, and there was like family game, they score, you score, or you're like a graph. So, can you put us through what was on to your mind by then?
Personally for me, during that moment, I was not really scared because we've been putting in so much work back at home. So, judging from the way they were playing, though they have the experiential knowledge for their own, but then I believe in our strength because we are younger, and I believe we are going to outplay them.
You came back second quarter, you were smoking. Third quarter, you guys were blazing as well. What did your coach tell you guys?
Okay, nothing really, but one of his usual statements he usually emphasizes on is that we've come a long way. We cannot just come here, we pay transport, we are feeding ourselves. So the moment he mentions that statement, there's this thing his figures in us.
Coming to any championship, winning the first game is a very good one for any team. It's used momentum. But what does this win mean for you guys?
Okay, the win personally for me, since I've not spoken to my team, but for me personally, it's really a lot of encouragement for me. Judging from the fact that this is my first time playing Asaba, I'm playing in this sport, so the atmosphere and everything, the win, there's just so much encouragement for me, and I believe the same thing goes for my team.
What's your prediction for your next game?
Yeah, I believe it's a win also. But
congratulations,
yeah.
Keep the back, King Walker.
Let's go, get some money, fuck that plan. I told her take this plan B and stop playing.
Welcome back to PNB Sports Show. Now let's move on to the UEFA Champions League. Last night, the Santiago Bernabeu witnessed a Champions League roller coaster. Real Madrid took the lead through Rodrigo, only for Manchester City to fight back with an opportunistic equalizer from Nico O'Reilly and a nevertheless Erling Haaland penalty to seal a 2-1 win for the visitors. Big goals, referring drama and momentum swings. Everything that the Champions League should be. We'll break it all down with Ero John, our renowned analyst from Benin City, Edo State. Ero, good morning.
Good morning, Tom. It's a pleasure to be with you once again. Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure. For you, for yesterday's match, Real Madrid versus Man City. Man City took it all. What stood out to you from that opening, from the opening sequence and to the shock and the momentum flip?
I actually was very surprised when Real Madrid took the lead because before the game, I predicted a Manchester City side to win because I've watched Real Madrid recently. They've not been in their best shape. They've not been in the best form of their lives. As a matter of fact, the coach, Xabi Alonso, is presently under some sort of pressure. He's under fire at the club. There are some segments of the fans are already calling for his sack. So I predicted the Manchester City side to win because Manchester City, though they started the season in a very shaky manner, they've grown, they've become better, they've gathered some momentum, they've played better recently. So I was very, very surprised when I saw Real Madrid take the lead, and not just take the lead, the goal came from Rodrigo, a player that has not scored in 30-something games. So there were some persons on social media that said Manchester, whenever he sees Manchester City, his adrenaline goes up. You know, it took me back to Chicharito then against Chelsea when he was at Manchester United. He may not score for 10 games, but once he plays against Chelsea, he will score an offside goal. There was no VAR. So it took me down that memory lane, and the game was intense. It was a proper big game where Madrid were in control of the game from the beginning till they scored their goal, and then immediately that blunder came from Courtois and the equalizer came. The momentum shifted ground to Manchester City, and in a matter of minutes they got a second goal, and that buried the game. I would call it an intense game. I personally would have expected more goals in the second half from both Manchester City and Real Madrid, but I think Real Madrid could not get back from going behind. They could not just find a way to get themselves back together. Manchester City took advantage of that sloppy and shaky momentum from Real Madrid, and they got the winning. They got the game, and as predicted, I expected them to win the game, and they eventually did.
Fantastic. So we saw that Manchester City came back after 20 minutes to equalize with Real Madrid. What happened, and what do you think about Guardiola's match management? It seems like every match they become better, like they've been playing in the Premier League as well.
Pep Guardiola is arguably, or personally, I would say unarguably, the best coach in the world, or one of the best coaches in the world, in world football. So Guardiola going into that game, I knew that he had something up his sleeves. You see, when the game started, like I said previously, Real Madrid were in total control. I mean, this game was played in the Santiago Bernabeu. One would expect that Real Madrid would largely control the game. They were in control from the beginning of the game. They were dominating the game. They were in possession, although their final passes and the final balls were not clicking. Eventually, the goal came, a sublime effort from Rodrigo. Kudos to Bellingham in the build-up to that goal. Kudos to Valverde. They got the goal they wanted. They were leading, and somehow, Manchester City they were trying to fight back. You're trying to get back into the game, obviously, which is expected. I mean, you are playing against a big team. This is not a Real Madrid versus Elba or Real Madrid Granada. This is a big side. This is the Champions League. They were fighting back, and then Courtois, although he had a good game, I'm going to say, because he made some very crucial saves, he cost the equalizer. That was a goalkeeping mistake from him. And then O'Neil got the equalizer. And that's where I began to wonder. The moment that equalizer came, Real Madrid did not, let me speak PG, they're not coming to themselves again. At that point, they lost grip of what they were doing. I mean, you are playing at home. You have the advantage of the home fans. You have everything at your beck and call. What exactly is going on? Equalizing is normal. At some point, they lost it. They were not. And then Rudiger committed a foul in the box. They got a penalty via a VAR decision. Haaland scored the second goal, which triggered a comeback. And then the game ended just like that. They could not get back. Madrid could not get back to even equalize. Talk more of doing a comeback to win. Manchester City did not score a further goal. The second half saw a lot of chances. Courtois saved a couple of them. And so you saw that it's the scoreline would even have been bigger if not that Courtois made some very beautiful saves. Real Madrid, on the other hand, could not get their chances to bear. They could not bury their chances. They had some few chances, they couldn't bury it. It was really something painful to see.
Okay, but I'm talking about the penalty. Some would say the VAR decision did it's changed the expectation of the momentum going into the break. What is your take on that? Do you think it's changed the momentum going into the break? That's for the penalty.
Yes, it did change the momentum because at that time we as fans were already thinking, okay, it's going to be a first half draw. Both teams will go to the dressing room, they will go to the drawing board, they will change tactics, change strategies, probably change some players, and then we'll see a more interesting second half. But then the VAR call that gave the penalty, because the referee did not give it as a penalty. The VAR call had the referee go in to review his decision and then giving him penalty. That was an immediate switch. I mean, a minute or two ago, we were thinking that this first half is going to end in a draw, and then suddenly we are seeing that Manchester City is leading. They've scored a penalty, and it's really football is psychology. Now you have put Real Madrid in a position that we're no longer trying to score a winner. We are not trying to first score an equalizing goal, a second goal, and try to fight for a winner. You have given us a double task as against a one task that we were thinking we were going to have going into the second half. So, of course, the penalty changed the trajectory of the game at that time.
Okay. But moving forward, what do you think Real Madrid didn't do right? Because some would say that we are home. Since we are home, why don't we take this? Why don't we take this win? And it seems like Real Madrid have been the most inconsistent team in recent time. A team that is as top notch as Real Madrid. A team that you place on the same level with teams like Manchester City, with teams like Barcelona, with teams like Paris Saint-Germain. What do you think they did wrong in this match, and what have they been doing wrong over time?
First of all, this is Xabi Alonso's first season with the club. I still think that he's trying to get something. He's trying to set some puzzle straight. He's trying to get some players into his pattern of play. Having been that this is a team that have been coached by Carlo Ancelotti for a couple of years. But that notwithstanding, I think one challenge that Real Madrid have had this season, not just in the Champions League, not just against big teams, even in La Liga, they've had the problem of area duels. They are not so good on the air. You see, they've conceded a number of goals from set pieces this season. They've conceded a number of goals from long throws, from free kicks, from corner kicks, from crosses of their opponents. It's a weakness for them this season. They had the likes of Rudiger out injured. He recently came back. Eder Militao is still out injured. And these are the defenders that they have that are very good on area balls. So I think the opponents have found a way of using that as a weakness and punishing them for it. And we saw that play out yesterday again in the build-up to the equalizing goal. So I think they need to look into that. That was something Guardiola and Manchester City capitalized on. That was one for them. Then they were wasting sense that in the early stages of the game, when they were in total control, they had opportunities of scoring about 2 to 3 goals. They missed a couple of chances. Like I said earlier, their final thoughts, their final passes, their final balls, their final touches were wrong. They were not so perfect. They were not so accurate. And then you get to when you are playing against big teams, you do not miss so many chances. Jose Mourinho once said that when you do that, you end up being punished. And that's what we saw yesterday. They missed a couple of chances, and at the end of the day,
Fantastic.
They got punished for it.
Jose Mourinho, one of the best coaches as well in the history of football. But moving forward, we saw Erling Haaland. He played very well. Even with apart from the penalty, what do you think he did right in that match? Because this is a player that has been consistent moving forward, a player that has been of impact, and it seemed like as soon as that penalty came in, they were like, okay, let's give this man another goal. And because he earned it, they put him on the line. So apart from that penalty, what do you think that Erling Haaland has been doing right?
Haaland is arguably one of the best strikers in Europe and world football presently. Haaland, apart from goal scoring, offers a number of things to any team that he plays for. There's something called, I think I was having that conversation with you one time, and I said there's something called a striker presence. There are very few strikers in football today that have it. Haaland, Harry Kane, Osimhen, and maybe one or two other strikers. They are not up to 10 that have what they call the striker presence. What do I mean by striker presence? Sometimes they don't necessarily need to score. Their presence alone in the open defense is not to put them into uncomfortable position. You see, when you have players like you leave opponents. Just imagine you are playing, and I'm not trying to throw shades. You are seeing players like Joao Pedro as the top man. I mean, as a central defender, you can take a stroll. There's no problem. You see players like Sesko, like Gyökeres. There's no problem. You can take a stroll. You can leave. Players like Victor Osimhen leading the front line. When you have players like Harry Kane, these are players that can even score from the center of the pitch. You dare not. Things you can't do. Problem at that any kind of goal to score incredible goals. You saw that he did not even celebrate the penalty that he scored. That's to show you the caliber, the mentality that he has. I mean, this is normal. This is below par. This is below my standard. I should score better goals. So Haaland offers that and many more to the team. He has a good build-up play. He has strength. He has space. He has goal scoring abilities. He has striker instincts and mentality, and that's a huge plus to Manchester.
Okay. Well, apart from Haaland, we were always talking about Haaland. Which other player brought out the fire? Which other player brought the grit and the glam to the football pitch, in your opinion?
For Manchester City?
Yes.
Okay, for Manchester City yesterday, apart from Haaland, I'll give kudos to Jeremy Doku. I'll give kudos to Phil Foden. These guys did well. Because I mean, Haaland cannot do all the job. You can't run from the back to the front and just like that. I'll give kudos to Doku. I'll give kudos to Foden. These players did their best in trying to get Real Madrid in uncomfortable positions, in trying to get passes onto the striker, and just like that. So I'll give kudos to Doku. I'll give kudos to Phil Foden.
Okay.
Doku especially.
Okay. But Xabi Alonso, it seems the pressure at Bernabeu is now a lot. What do you think that Xabi Alonso should do, considering the fact that he's having managerial crisis right now?
You know, this is a lot for him. A coach that won a league title unbeaten, played a European final, and suddenly in less than 15 games, he's already in deep crisis. It goes to show you It goes to show you the level of club that he's managing right now. I always tell people there are some things that the pressure that comes with being their manager alone or being a player in that club is enough to make you not excel. You see, Xabi Alonso right now if he were to be in a smaller team, he will not be under any sort of pressure right now because he's still top 4 in La Liga. He's not doing so bad in the Champions League. But guess what? He's already under so much pressure. What do I think he needs to do differently? I think he needs to try and overlook the fact that he's under pressure. He needs to solve some glaring problems that the team has. I want to believe that they will leave him in the club till January. If he gets to January in the transfer window, he needs to look to strengthening his defensive lineup. You can't be so porous because you had the likes of Rudiger out. You had the likes of Eder Militao out. I think David Alaba also just returned from injury. So you see, you won't entirely blame him. He had limited opportunities, but then again, he has so many players that are in form: Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, and the like. So I think he needs to strengthen his defense. He needs to also plan a backup tactical play. If plan A doesn't work, what then do I switch to? What then do I do? And he needs to there's a problem I've discovered. He has problem defeating the big teams. He has problem playing against big teams. He needs to work on that sincerely also.
Okay, so in the group, Manchester, they have Napoli, Monaco, Villarreal, Borussia Dortmund. They have Boda Glimt, they have Galatasaray, and they have Bayer Leverkusen. How do you think that this shapes Real Madrid's Manchester City moving forward? Because we've seen that they are a team that has been consistent over time. Even in the Premier League, they are a team that when clubs like Chelsea see them, and clubs like the likes of some other clubs, well, let's just start with Chelsea, see them, they shiver and quail. So what is your opinion on Manchester City in the Champions League and in the group stage?
Why did you not start with Manchester United? You have an agenda. Well,
Manchester United, they won their last match. So let's not put too much pressure on them. Let's talk about but let's leave Chelsea. Let's just talk about Manchester City.
Okay, Manchester City has a pedigree. They have a name. They have a profile. They have a history. They have a background. Where they are coming from, they are a good side. They are a top club in Europe, in world football. I mean, they've won the Champions League, they've won the Premier League. A club that has won the Premier League, I think 4 or 5 times in the last 7 or 8 years. That's a testament. That's a huge one. So in the Champions League, they're a formidable force. Everybody knows that. They are formidable. They lost a final to Chelsea the following season, I think, or the following 2 seasons. They went on to win the Champions League. It shows you that you've played in 2 finals. You played 2 finals in 3 years. So they have a Champions League history. They have a Champions League pedigree. And these things speak volume. These things speak volume for you as a club. It gives you this level. That's on the same pedestal that Real Madrid works on. You hear people tell you that, oh, Real Madrid is a Champions League club. They're a Champions League club. The reason they tell you that is because go back and check the books for yourself. They've won this competition a couple of times. I mean, they won it 4 times back to back or 3 times back to back under Zinedine Zidane. So it's a good one for Manchester City. Manchester City in the Champions League is a formidable force. If I were to pick my top 5 favorites, I'll add them to that list because of how good they are, how good they play, and they have a manager that is well experienced in the Champions League also.
Okay. So we have Rodrigo's opener, O'Reilly's equalizer, and Erling Haaland's penalty. So it seems like it was hot at Bernabeu yesterday. John, thank you for your proper analysis. It's always on point. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
We appreciate you as well. Well, we'll be moving on to our next segment. And our next segment is our Athlete of the Day segment. And our Athlete of the Day is Erling Braut Haaland, Manchester City unstoppable goal machine and one of the most dominant forward of his generation. Born on July 21st, 2000 in Leeds, England, Haaland is the son of former Premier League player Erling Haaland. He grew up in Norway and rose through the academy of Brian FK before exploding onto the world stage with Red Bull Salzburg, where his Champions League hat-trick made global headlines. He later moved on to Borussia Dortmund, becoming the fastest player in Champions League history to reach 20 goals, and in 2022 he joined Manchester City, immediately smashing records in his first Premier League season. He scored 36 goals, the highest total ever recorded in single Premier League campaigns, and he earned our Athlete of the Day today because of his decisive performance last night in the Champions League at the Santiago Bernabeu, converting a crucial penalty that sealed Manchester City 2-1 victory over Real Madrid In a high-pressure moment inside of football most intimidating stadium, Haaland stepped up with total calm and delivered. It was not just a goal, it was leadership, composure, and elite mentality at the biggest possible stage. That is why Erling Haaland is our athlete of the day. Well, Erling Haaland is an amazing player. He's a player that causes trouble. When he's on the pitch, you know that there's a striker on the pitch ready to cause trouble. He is what we call a bulldozer on the pitch. Well, what a night at Bernabeu, a match that will be dissected across Europe. City showed resilience and ruthless finish. Madrid will be left asking questions about key errors and fine margins. A huge thank you to Ero John once again for our initial breakdown and analysis. We'll return later this week with more detailed clips, stats, and deep dive into how this result reshaped the Champions League picture. I'm Araka Tom. Follow us on all our social media platforms. On YouTube at Politics&BusinessTV.English, Facebook at Politics&BusinessTV.English, Instagram at PNBTV_English, X formerly Twitter at PNBTV_ENG. Stay with PNB Sports. Until next time, it's bye for now.